we know that this is a sensitization of the nervous and immune system, and that sensitization could have happened due to a variety of triggers. Well, thank you for all your comments to my videos, and I wanted to use this set of videos to really talk about a few questions and provide a few opinions of mine around some of the questions that have been asked. So thank you so much for all your comments and feedback. Please keep them coming. Thank you for subscribing my channel and listening to my content. I hope you found them of value. I wanted to particularly use this video to answer a question that has been asked by Caroline. She's a physiotherapist working locally in the NHS. And Caroline, you've kind of asked about the symptoms of CFS and particularly looking at whether there is a way to test for the viruses. Now, as you are aware, the symptoms of chronic fatigue, there are certain broad similarities. But the reality is that within chronic fatigue as well, we know that this is a sensitization of the nervous and immune system, and that sensitization could have happened due to a variety of triggers. So it can be surgery, and in many places, post-viral infections are likely to be a very common source of chronic fatigue. And there are some viruses that can certainly be tested for. So one of the most common is, of course, the Lyme disease and the Lyme virus. There are a few other viruses that have been put forward as reasons for persistent post-fatigue symptoms, and these often depend from country to country. So some continents and some areas like North America may have certain viral infections that are much more common. There are also parasitic infections that can be capable of causing prolonged sensitization of the immune and nervous system. And of course, we are all aware of COVID now becoming a big cause of post-viral fatigue. But long COVID in itself has a certain set of characteristics that's quite different. Right now, in terms of testing for the viruses in the UK, Lyme disease is probably one of the few that there are some tests for in primary care and possibly some tests for in certain secondary care hospitals. Now, in the US or in certain parts of Europe or in Africa, there is possibility of testing for other viruses as well, and that may not be appropriate for this video in terms of coverage, but there are certainly options that need to be discussed with the local specialists in those areas to see if it can be tested for and treated more appropriately. Here with Lyme disease, there is certainly the role for looking at the virus, whether there is still the presence of some viral fragments, or for looking at certain titers or antibody levels that might be high. Again, these are all things that are still not fully mainstream. So as far as the NHS is concerned, it's very difficult to test for these viruses in an established patient with chronic fatigue. So that is why a lot of times we go for symptom management and supporting the people with a variety of strategies for managing the fatigue and other symptoms rather than focusing on the root cause, because we still don't have good evidence-based treatments even if we are successful in establishing the root cause. That has been the challenge with managing and treating people with chronic fatigue, and that is where there is a lot of controversy still in how we should be supporting these patients. I think the research into long COVID will help us find biomarkers for patients with chronic fatigue and also look for newer and more appropriate treatment strategies. And as I understand and learn more about the condition, I'll be making new videos on chronic fatigue as well. But for now, I'd say that only some viruses can be tested, but for the others, it's still good symptomatic management is what works for a lot of patients. Hi, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to hear and see more, then please click the subscribe button and hit the notifications button so that you'll know when the next video is released.